Welcome to episode 7 of Inside the Dojo, guys. Brought to you by MMA Fight Pass, and today's sponsor is Own a Car from Fresno, California. All your car needs, Own a Car, Fresno, California. And today's episode, we're going to go into Rhino Elite Fitness Studio, home of Doug, the Rhino Marshall. And this is his truck, guys. Pretty beautiful logo there. All right, guys. So, as many of you know, Doug Marshall, he's a native of Visalia, California, and he got his roots in fighting kind of on the streets, and then later on made a debut in the WEC, the World Extreme Cage Fighting. I met Doug way back in the day, and he was just a normal guy like you and me. And real quickly, he made a big name for himself locally in the WEC, and from there just snowballed to the next level, the next level, the next level. Became the WEC light heavyweight champion, and then went on to Bellator, and went on to win a tournament where he won $100,000. Real big thing for one of us local guys. Let's go inside, let's meet Doug, let's take a little look at his class, and we'll see what you guys think. Now we're gonna walk in and we're gonna just watch for a little bit and see what's going on here. He's got a class going on right here, so we're not gonna interrupt right away. We're gonna get a little look, and then we're gonna continue from there, guys. So come on in here. Take my glasses, kind sir. There he is right there, the man, the myth, the legend. This is a cool little spot, guys. It's got a little bit of everything. You got strength and conditioning. Hey, how are you? How's it going, man? Here he is, the man.
Hey, what's up? Good to see you.
Guys, this is Doug the Rhino Marshall, a good friend of ours. Like I said, he's a native of Visalia, California, and he's got all kinds of accolades. And today we're checking out his gym. We're going to go from there. So, hey, man, why don't you show us around the gym real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. You see it right as you walk in. We got some dumbbells over there, some old school memorabilia up on the walls. Over here, I got my shorts I won the Bellator tournament in. $100,000 check hanging up on the wall. That's always nice.
100 grand.
Yeah. I mean, hey, who says, dreams can't come true, I guess.
That's right.
But basically, here at this gym, we just have everything it takes to train any level of athlete, from professional level, recreational. Some people just fitness, weight loss, but we pretty much do it all. We do a lot of stuff. Sports specific stuff. We got the AstroTurf here, so like the young kids are working a lot of agility and stuff. They need to work with their feet, so we got that going on. But this is the piece de resistance, my massive background right here. Yeah. That ain't going nowhere. I can build a second story on that bad boy.
All right, guys. So we're gonna hop in my time machine and we're gonna go back to a day, I believe it was. I got my own time machine outside. It's tremendous. We're gonna go back to, I believe it was 2003, October 17th. It was WEC Halloween Fury 2. Now, this was my first fight in WEC, and it was Doug's first fight in WEC. Now, this to me is, all the other fights, they mean a lot, man. Like, I'm proud of everything Doug has accomplished, but that night was something else. It was the first time I had seen this. I had heard a lot about Doug, like on the streets and fighting and things like that, but I'd never seen it myself. I didn't really know or understand it until we got in that ring. And man, when that first fight, when Doug walked out there were so many people that had found out from Visalia and the local area that this guy was getting in the cage. And man, we had everybody there. There was all walks of life there that knew about Doug. There were skateboarders, there were police officers, there was probation officers, family, his dad, his brother. I mean, when they called this guy's name and he walked down that walkway, that crowd was going nuts. It was electricity in the air, and man, like, I didn't know what to expect. I think the crowd knew what to expect more than me. And the opponent, his name was Anthony Fuller, right? And that guy had no idea what he was getting in there with either. And the fight didn't last long. Doug went through him like butter, and man, that crowd went nuts. I'd never seen anything like it. And I mean, our whole team, we were ecstatic, man. It was really something else. And at the next fight was against a real tough dude, LeVar Johnson, who had been, I mean, this dude was tough, and he was well known. And boy, him and Doug got into a brawl, and I believe it was the end of the first round, and Doug TKO'd him. And the story goes on and on from there. But really, what I want to know is that first fight in the cage. What was going through your mind, dude? Before you walked down that aisle, you look pumped to me. You look ready as can be. But what was going through your mind when that time?
Well, it's really weird. Like, I wasn't nervous. You know what I mean? Like, because I didn't have anything to lose. You know, it was something that I wanted to do, kind of like a bucket list kind of deal. And, you know, I'm going down the ramp, and I had tunnel vision. You know, I could hear and feel the crowd, but all I could see was the opening of the cage. And when I stepped in there, I don't know, you know, I'm sure a lot of guys say a lot of funny things, but it kind of felt like home in a way, you know, like later in my career, I found myself being more nervous before fights. And then once I stepped into the cage, it was like, oh, like I'm back home. You know what I mean? This is normal. So I was just pumped, and that feeling that you get when you have 5, 10, 20, 30,000 people screaming your name is, you know, or whether they're, you know, applauding or booing, they're still screaming, and you could feel it, man. Like, people say, oh, electricity in the air, oh, that's BS. No, man, you can feel it. You know what I mean? Like, it's amazing. It's addicting. It's adrenaline.
Yeah, when I walked out there was a few screams and hollers. There was a few boos, maybe more boos than hollers. But I'll tell you one thing: when those promoters, Reed Harris and Scott Adams, and the other guys that were cage side, when Doug arm was raised and that crowd went nuts, those promoters looked around like, wow, like
they knew they had something.
They knew they had something, and man, they knew this guy's going to draw in people. And we talked about some of the other fights. Like I was telling you guys early, he's not only got wins, but he's also got some defeats. And a lot of guys, when they experience that first defeat in that cage, a lot of them go down. A lot of them don't stick with it. But the ones that do stick with it, and they conquer that defeat and they go back to the drawing board, hey, you make it to the next level. So on those defeats, man, you kept going after that. How do you take that, man? Like, how do you take that defeat?
My first loss was to James Irvin, and I took it really hard. But looking back, even I want to say it might have been like 8 months I took off. I had this broken finger. I had a ruptured eardrum. My ear was severely messed up, blah, 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 blah. But that was like one of my favorite fights, believe it or not. Like, I don't mind losing. I don't mind, as long as it's a good fight. You know what I mean? Like, you take away more from your losses than you do from your wins. You're able to go back to the drawing board and be like, all right, you know, we planned specifically for these certain things. They didn't happen, and it left me waiting for a trigger word, you know, a key, something to set me off, something to go, instead of just training everything non-specific and letting my body react. So I learned a lot from that fight, man. And actually, me and James Irvin, we were cool, you know what I mean, afterwards. And, you know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. And, man, for you guys that don't know who James Irvin was, because this was back in the day, he was definitely one of the upper archy. He was a tough individual right there. A lot of guys didn't want to fight that guy. In fact, pretty much all the defeats Doug had, from what I seen, they were all top-notch guys. They weren't slackers, that's for sure. They weren't slackers. Now, you ended up, I believe, winning you started at heavyweight, and then things started getting serious, and I don't know if it was you that made a decision or who, but you decided to go down to
height.
The height?
My height made the decision, but that ended up being a great decision, but it wasn't exactly what we wanted. I figured that my height determined my weight, but unfortunately my height determined that my weight be like 155. And with my legs, there was no way I could make that weight. But at 205, I felt fast, I felt good, my cardio was better, and I was able to carry down some of the power from heavyweight to light heavy, and that really helped me.
Now that was the fight with Lorenzen K where you won the 205 belt for WEC?
That's right. Yeah, that was my second fight at 205. I had one I wouldn't call it a warm-up fight. It was against a very game opponent, Jeff Terry. That was actually for the Ryan Bennett, what was it, Memorial?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
For that.
Ryan Bennett Benefit Memorial.
Benefit, yeah. One of the announcers from the old WEC. But I felt really good. I started training with the new camp for that fight. I started training with Mike Pop in Fresno, with Pacific Martial Arts, with Matt Smith, and things started really clicking. Me and Pop, we had the same vision of where we wanted to go, and he knew I had power in my hands, but he wanted to instill those powers in my kicks. And I'm like, all right, I could do this. I like kicking, and that was my first fight where I was able to really tee off some nice kicks. We worked diligently, like day in, day out. Every day I was driving to Fresno. And Mike was always there for me with great advice. And I don't know, it just kind of went from there.
And that was that stage, and man, making that drive to Fresno, it's something else. Back in those days, it was a lot different than now. There was hardly any training around here. In Visalia, there was like one or two spots. Like at that time, to really get some good training, you had to take that drive to Fresno. To Pacific Martial Arts was one of the main spots. But soon after that, you took a big step and you went to King's MMA. What part of your career did you decide to make that step?
I think it was just, I don't know if it would be coincidence or whatever. Tom Knox had Elite Team here in Visalia, and I stopped in, and he's been a friend of mine forever and a teammate all the way through Djibouti, through the box, through the everywhere that we went. So I started teaching Muay Thai there, and he was under Kleber Luciano. Well, Kleber was in collaboration with Rafael. So I was like, Rafael Cordero? He's like, yeah, man. He said he wants to meet you.
The real deal.
Yeah, and I'm like, Rafael Cordero knows who I am. He's like, yeah, dude. You know what I mean? He's like, he wants to meet you, like he wants to help you train. I was like, all right, cool, man. So me and DC, Darren Crisp, we started going down to Huntington Beach before fights. We'd go down there, spend 4 or 5 days, 3 times a month, and basically get our asses kicked the whole entire time, and then come back here and then kick everyone's ass down here. So if you're at a gym where you're the toughest guy and you're not getting pushed, you're not learning. You're going to become stagnant. Your techniques are just, they're not going to work for you against a high level opponent.
That's exactly right. And if you want to be one of the best in this sport, you need to train with some of the best. And I see all these fighters around here, the local guys, and there's loyalty to the gym and this and that. But back in the day, like when I was competing, I had the same mentality. Like I was looking at the best schools out there for jiu-jitsu, and we had to travel for that. And
I remember going down to Chinguinas.
Yes.
Down in San Diego.
Yep, we would take these trips and we would go to these gyms. Now in the Central Valley, there's 100 different gyms, and I see these young fighters. They're loyal to their gym, but man, loyalty is great, but you got to get out there. And if it was me as a young guy, like some of you out there, I'd be loyal to my gym, but I'd also be looking at the dudes that really put it down, man, and the guys that are putting it down now. And people forget real quick about us older dudes and what we did back in the day. And they just do. They forget real quick.
We were fighting before it was cool to fight.
That's right. This guy's a pioneer. And, man, what else can I say? Now, later on, you made your debut into Bellator, and you ended up fighting in a tournament, which I thought was tremendous, man. Break that tournament down for us.
Well, my first fight in Bellator, they put me up against Kalahose, who had never been knocked out. This was just a single, I don't know, super fight or just featured bout. And I ended up knocking him out and then doing what I usually do, grab the microphone and start, the Rhino guy takes over and starts ranting. Well, they saw something there, Bjorn Rebney. Speaking of Bjorn, one thing that stuck with me since then was Bjorn Rebney pulled me to the side and he's like, Doug, he goes, you are the most electrifying fighter I've ever had on my roster. He's like, I'm so pleased that we made the decision to keep you. And I was just shocked that the owner of Bellator at that time took the time out of his day. That guy would literally call me on my birthday, call me at Christmas, and wish me. It was mind-blowing. That's when I believe he was a promoter that actually cared about the fighters, like had a connection with them. And I miss that guy, man. That guy's awesome.
So when you went into that tournament, just break down that tournament real quick and what that was all about.
So, I ran my mouth. I got myself into the tournament. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, all right, it's a tournament. They range it out over 6 months, No. Right after my first fight, actually, when I fought Andreas Spang, I knocked him out in the first round. He was actually the favorite to make it to the finals of the tournament, where I kind of was like the dark horse. Like, everyone's like, this guy's kind of washed up. He's not what he once was. So I knocked out the number 1 seed in my first fight. Then my second fight, wait, let me break down how this works. Right after that fight, Christian Printup comes up to me. He's like, hey, man, how you feeling, champ? Anything hurt? I'm like, no, I'm good. He's like, all right, cool, man. You're fighting in Temecula in 23 days. I'm all, what? I was like, dude, are you serious? He's like, yeah, man, that's the format. He's like, you fight under a month. I think it was 23 days, 28 days, and then, the final. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I went from that camp, like, I fought 5 times in 364 days. So, you fought before. You know what it takes and
that's wild.
How the camp is. And I think it really took its toll on me. It was a lot harder than it's hard to explain to people, man. They watch MMA on TV and think, oh, that was an easy fight. Okay, well, you're right. That was an easy fight. But those 8-10 weeks leading up to it were brutal. And I got to do that for 1 year continuously straight, staying in peak physical condition, staying dedicated to my diet, watching my weight, watching my activities, limiting certain things, working around injuries. I've never fought 100%. I've always had something hurt, like whether it was a broken toe, I've had a broken sternum, a fractured sternum, breaks in your hands, your arm popped, all kinds of little things, and it really takes a toll, man. So
yeah, and that's something that people don't know. They see these people. I think people get desensitized from watching these MMA fights, and if you've never stepped in that ring, boy, it's something else. And especially when you've came out of a 6 or 8 week camp, you're going in there with some stuff wrong with your body. It takes a lot. Now, Doug, over that short time, you fought 3 fights, I believe, and man, it came down to that last fight, and there was $100,000 on the line, man. And here's one of our locals from Central Valley, and there's haters and there's lovers and there's fans, and man, when it came down to that last fight, like it was really something else, and to see you, Doug, come out victorious and holding that $100,000 check over your head, I thought it was really something else, man. $100,000, man. How'd you feel about that?
I felt amazing. It actually, there's only a few times in my life where it's felt surreal. Like they say the word surreal. I don't think people understand what this is. It feels like a dream. Like I can't even believe this is happening to me. And I think that's what happened when I was standing over Brett Cooper. Like it just, I
Was he the last of the tournament?
Yeah, he was. And so he claimed that he could stand and bang with me. I knew it was a ploy. You know what I mean? not very many people are game like that. But I was standing over him, and I was doing the Rhino thing, you know what I mean, celebrating. But then it just like, I kind of just dazed off, like, did this just happen? Like, is this real? The feeling that your body has it's insane, you know?
Yeah, really something else, man. And there's a lot of fans out there. A lot of people were stoked when we did this episode here. And I'm still really new at this. My producer, Archie, we're still new at this. And this is episode 7. We're going to keep going around. But, man, out of all your fans, now, I'm good friends with your dad, Doug Marshall Sr., alias
My biggest fan.
alias the Wizard. Now, I've never seen a father that supports his sons and family as much as this man. When he said Pops was his biggest fan, he means it. Now, I got to give some props out to the Wizard, man. He is, you know as well as me, he's one of my best friends, man. That guy is, honestly, I could say he's kind of like been like a father figure to me. And, man, I go over there and I chat with Doug, and there's not a day that goes by where he doesn't talk about you, man, and you and Blake and everybody in your family. And there's something different. There's different breeds of people as far as mental capacity, as far as mental discipline and toughness, whatever you want to call it. But when I sit and talk with the Wizard, it's just a different type of guy. The stories he tells me are tremendous. And it's always something new when I go in there and I chat with him. Sometimes I'll sit there and talk to the guy for hours, and I really love that guy. And I can see where you get the mentality. It's just a different DNA. I'm not boasting or bragging about it. I'm just saying there's different types of people.
Absolutely.
Different type of DNA, a different mindset. And you and your brother both definitely have that. And Wizard, I want to give you props for breeding your son, both of your sons, man. Something really tremendous there, man. And it's just really something else. Now,
hold on, Tom. So a lot of people are like, so why did you do this? Why did you do that? My dad is the reason why I've done everything in my life. Okay, I'm like, I'm like one of the reverse psychology kind of guys. Like, oh, careful, buddy, you can't pick that up. You know what I mean? Or you can't carry all those groceries. And everything I always did was to please my dad. To make him happy, appease him. And he always talked with me about fighting when he was a little bit younger and I was a little bit younger. He's like, hey, what do you think about, if we got you into karate or this and that? I'm like, yeah, whatever you want me to do, Dad, And I was sitting there watching that Anthony Araya fight, and I'm sitting there drinking a beer with my, I'm watching the fights, me and my dad at the Palace. And I'm like, I could kick that guy's ass. And my dad just looks at me. He's like, why don't you shut up and have another beer? And I'm like, challenge accepted. That next Monday, I was in the gym at Jabushi. That's where I met you for the first time, Tom, and started training. And then 3 months later, had my first fight. 8 months later, I fought Anthony Araya to win the heavyweight title. And, all just like to show my dad, you know what I mean? And then it just took off from there. And I love doing what I'm doing. I'm a veteran of the sport for 15 years, almost 30 fights, wins and losses, ups and downs. And it's been a wild ride. I love it. I wouldn't have traded for anything. And now that I'm retired, I'm passing my knowledge on to the next generation. And I really enjoy that too, seeing the looks on their faces when we're working techniques, they're sparring. Some of them ask me stories and I'll tell them certain things. And, I try to guide them in the right way, the way that I was taught, but not till I was 26. I'm trying to give it to them now when they're 12, 13, 14, keeping them on the straight and narrow. There's some boys in my class. I just am so happy that they're there instead of being a troublemaker like I was at a young age. Keeping them off the streets and keeping them in a positive environment. And I don't know, man. I love doing it.
Man, I love what you're doing too, because I've seen so many fighters. I mean, a lot of the locals too, and people from all walks of life, and UFC, whatever it may be. It's not easy for a fighter, man. You got all these hopes and dreams, and then when it doesn't go right, or maybe it does go right, when you leave the fighting world, what do you do? So it's great when you see a guy like Doug or Tom Knox or any of these guys. They're passing down the knowledge, and man, I'm super happy that you opened this place up and you're working with these young guys. They got a great mentor. Guys, if you're out there and you're getting ready for a fight and you're loyal to your gym, remember what I said. Take a walk around. You can come in and get a single class, or you can come in and do you know what I mean? You don't have to stay here, but come in and get some good technique and work with good people, and then go back to your gym. It's all good. Like what I wish in the Central Valley is more people had that mentality. We would go anywhere that was good. And I'm going to tell you right now, if I was getting ready for a fight, honestly, or a jiu-jitsu competition, for jiu-jitsu I'd be going to Elite. They've been proven to have one of the best competition teams, not just around here, but now around the world. Around the world. And if I was going to mix in my MMA for an MMA fight, I'd be going to different places, but I'd definitely be going with Doug, not just because he's a friend, but because of the accomplishments. So I'm really proud of you, man, when it comes to that.
Thanks. You know, a lot of people don't see it that way. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to sit here and tell you about the good things that I've done. You know what I mean? Either you know me or you don't know me. I have experience in this game, some good, some bad. I like to see fighters get trained by fighters. You know what I mean? Guys that have actually been in there and felt it. I know what to expect when you're in a situation. I know where these openings are at, you know, like, and to be trained by somebody who doesn't know that is just, it's kind of mind-boggling to me, actually. You know, like Rafael fought in Pride, he fought in Brazil.
Oh, geez.
Oh, man. I mean, like bare knuckle, Vale Tudo. So learning from a fighter is different than learning from a non-fighter.
Most definitely, man. Guys, this was a real special episode of Inside the Dojo for us. Like I said,
It's a reunion.
It's a reunion, man. We go way back, man, into the roots, and I'm happy what Doug's done here. And like I said, this is a special episode for us. This is episode 7. We're still new at this, and if you got a gym out there and you want us to come, just get a hold of me or Archie. You know what I mean? And our plan is to go around all these gyms and get a little scope. I don't have any favorite gym or nothing like that. I love all you guys out there, and everybody's got something to offer, and this guy's got something tremendous to offer. And Doug, I just really want to thank you, and I'm honored to come into your gym, and we really appreciate the visit, my brother.
You got it, my friend. You got it. Guys, real quick shout out. Elite team, Visalia, Kings MMA, Muay Thai, Huntington Beach. Man, the truth, that's all I got to say. These gyms are the truth. You know, right here in Visalia, elite team, you know, like it speaks for itself. Kings MMA Muay Thai definitely speaks for itself. Ton of champions down there, ton of champions here in the Valley. Come check us out.
Yep, and one more shout out. Like this, I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt or anything like that. But elite team is really doing it, man. And the Tom Knox and these guys over there, the jiu-jitsu, like I said, if I was going to go back and compete in a high-level jiu-jitsu, I'd definitely be making my way over there. I'd go roll around with the other people too, but that'd be one of my spots, guys. So thank you for tuning in. One more shout out to Own a Car in Fresno. They're sponsoring us. We love all our sponsors. And if you guys want your name on one of these shirts, we're going to be, you know, we're taking sponsors, man, and we're going to keep growing this thing. And what can I say? You guys have a great night, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Inside the Dojo with Doug, Rhino, Marshall.